boys and girls. This is Will from Natural One. Here doing this by myself today. David and his family, they have gone to Disneyland, so I'm going to offer you a sort of .5 edition of the Natural One's Bardic Inspiration podcast. This week, what's new in D&D? So I saw this on a Facebook Dungeons and Dragons group. I don't remember which one, but it's this Kickstarter project. It's called Scavenger, and it's a Bronze Age punk role-playing game setting for the 5th edition in a world of alien adventure and apocalyptic survival. That was a mouthful. Essentially, it looks like a really, really awesome, unique world where you're basically either surviving or thriving. You can try to rebuild the world, or you can kind of go sort of the piratey route and kind of become a king, I guess, in essence. It looks really good. The artwork's incrediing. These guys have done a really good job. They're about 400% funded right now, so I'm pretty sure this is going to happen. They're expecting about October 2020, I think is what I saw on when they'll have a released hard copy of the book. So if you want to check them out, again, that's called Scavenger on Kickstarter. They have scavengerworld.net as their website. Alexandru Nagoita, sorry if I'm saying these names wrong, and Marquis Hardis, these are the creators, and they've had a number of people helping them create it, from what I understand, but these are the two head guys behind everything. So yeah, check them out. They're on Facebook, Instagram, or Facebook, Twitter. They're kind of all over the place. But again, that was scavengerworld.net. All right, so for today, I'm going to be talking about the on a more micro level, a NPC creation, either for characters in the world or characters who play in the world. This is also good to use on your own characters that you play if you're not a DM. So I'm going to use a couple of different methods here. We're going to do an in-depth character out of the DM handbook, and then we're also going to do another one using something called Table of Tables. You can find this on Reddit, but it's got so many different things and ideas and things that you can use to roll up your characters. So we're going to do a live roll-up and kind of come up with a couple of ideas, and I'll share with you kind of my process after we get a couple of these guys rolled up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll out of the Dungeon Master's Handbook from Wizards of the Coast. And I have with me the handy-dandy DM book here. So we're just going to get right into it. So we're going to roll for an NPC. We haven't figured out race or gender or any of that kind of stuff yet. But we're going to come up with some ideas, and I'm going to be typing them into the computer here while we come up with it, get it all written down. So first thing on the DM handbook is the NPC's appearance. I'm probably just going to roll up a he just for the sake of ease, because I can think the way a man thinks easy. So I rolled up an 11, so he has a birthmark of some kind. When we get more comprehensive, we'll come down to what it is. So abilities will be the next. So high ability and low ability. So, and this is going to be just for like basic ability scores. So his high ability is going to be Constitution. So this is a more hardy kind of person. And then the low ability is going to be Dexterity. So yeah, I'm kind of seeing a more brutish kind of person. And the next table we have is for talents. Ooh, let's see what his talent is going to be. 3, so he's unbelievably lucky. Maybe he's good with dice, or unbelievably so. So he might do some interesting things that just don't make a lot of sense, and maybe you want to use like the luck feat or something like that in order to kind of help pass that off. So the next one we have mannerisms. and that's also going to be a 3, so particularly low voice. So especially, yeah, especially coming together like a kind of a big, I'm almost, in my head, I'm starting to see somebody who maybe hangs out in taverns and gambles, and we'll see what else kind of comes up in here. So, interactions with others. So, the ways that they might interact is going to be a D12. That is a 2, so he's arrogant in the way he speaks with others. Okay, arrogant. NPC ideals. We're going to roll a D6. Let's see. So there's ideals for good, evil, lawful, chaotic, neutral, other. So kind of, I guess it depends on where we want them to sit in alignment. Maybe we'll call this guy chaotic because that might be interesting. So I got a 5. Looks like no limits. So this guy might be willing to do just about anything, which fits into the gambling thing. And we have bonds. It's going to be a D10. I get to roll again. I got a 1. Okay. Dedicated to fulfilling a personal life goal. So maybe this guy's always wanted to win the jackpot. Or maybe he wants vengeance on his father's killer. Or maybe he wants to usurp a government. I don't know. Let's see. Dedicated to personal life goal. Okay. The next table is flaws and secrets. So this is a D12. I have a 4. So envies another creature's possessions or station. That could fit into something that I was saying. That could have to do with his personal life goal that he's dedicated to. Maybe he really aspires to be a captain of the guard, or maybe he is somehow envious of somebody that that your heroes will eventually come across, and maybe he's some kind of an unknown rival that kind of reveals himself during their journey. Let's see. That was a 4. So envies another creature's possessions or station. My brain is going straight to money because, if I'm thinking this guy is some kind of gambler. So his flaw and secret is he's envious of possessions or station. Yeah, so that is all of the information on the DM handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide. So let's take a look at our guy again. So he has a birthmark. His strength is in Constitution. His weakness is in Dexterity. He's extremely lucky. Maybe he doesn't lose fights or something. I don't know. Extremely low voice. Arrogant, very arrogant in the way he speaks to people. One of his flaws is that he has no limits, and one of his bonds is that he's really dedicated to a personal goal, and his weakness or his I can't remember, his flaws, he's envious of a possession or station. So I see a guy who he's willing to gamble at about pretty much anything, and especially to get something that might put him towards his personal goal, or which I'm going to go ahead and say his personal, well, I don't know. I kind of think him, if his personal goal was, I'm going to say vengeance over dead father. and I'm going to say he's envious of wealth. And maybe the person who killed his father was some kind of diplomat, or maybe some punk's dad is a count or something, some kind of wealthy baron or something like that. So he's got this mindset of, oh, this punk killed my dad, and he gets no recourse because of his position, and they don't deserve that. I should have that. So let's see, Baron's son. So dedicated personal goal, vengeance of dead father, envious of possession or station, Baron's son, related. And so he's this really go-lucky kind of guy, and he wants to wing this vengeance or something, and it could be I'm going micro, so this guy might not even be anywhere near the beginning of the game, or maybe he's just in a random town. We'll figure out where to put him later. But this could be potential quest stuff for the game. He feels pretty good. We can just, if you want to get more into it, you could maybe generate his stats in some kind of a generator for, like, what his actual race and class, and if he's a fighter, what kind of stuff he comes up with. Being high constitution, low dexterity, I would think he was probably some kind of, I don't know, maybe a fighter, or I'm trying to think who else has low constitution or low dexterity, high constitution, generally speaking. Doesn't seem like that really goes well for anybody. Could be a wizard, could be a fighter, although I think fighters generally would need. Could be a barbarian. Which is funny because I wanted to roll up a barbarian for the table of tables. So maybe these guys are both barbarians. This is a Conan type setting. So I'm going to go ahead and clear everything that we rolled up for this first guy. And we're going to visit the table of tables in Reddit for Dungeons and Dragons. So the first, there is the heroic barbarian table. There is the player character table. I don't think I'm going to use that one today. And then NPC appearance, except I might use the player character one for a few things, just not everything. So, okay, we're going to do a player character random table here. You ready? So, first one is a D12 on the race. So, maybe we shouldn't do this random because a gnome barbarian is just already ridiculous. And that's the thing as a DM. We tell you what, we're not gonna do the random player character stuff, because we need this character to fit into a town, and there's way too much sidestepping going on there. So we already know that we're gonna do a heroic barbarian. We'll just call him a human. And I know it's not the most beautiful thing in the world, but we're doing a fast, kind of detailed NPC creation here. So, this barbarian grew up in a vast grassland. In the past, he was a gladiator or an outlaw. We will say gladiator because that sounds interesting. Let's see. You take pride in physical endurance. Well, that's because the ladies like him. Let's see. Physical endurance. Okay. right, so you need improvement on campfire cooking. He's a bad cook. See, that's a funny random thing. Well, campfire specifically. That's kind of weird being a barbarian from the grasslands, but yeah, let's see. He became an adventurer to avoid a family obligation. Maybe he I'm just, sparks are going a little bit here. So, having been a gladiator and also avoiding a family obligation, maybe the obligation was some kind of like fight to the death between him and somebody he considered a close friend, or something like that. So maybe he ran away from home, and that's where these adventurers can run into him. Is where he ran to. Let's see. Your primary weapon is your his scimitar or how do you say that? Falchion? Falcon? I don't know. Falchion. Well, there you have it. Falchion. Which is very, similar to a scimitar. Very, anyways. You are also skilled with your short sword or great club. We will say great club, because he is a barbarian. Okay. You are carrying he is carrying a string of teeth. He is wearing armor decorated with bones. Ooh, this guy is kind of like bone armor. Let's see. He's kind of an intimidating dude. Let's see. He has taken a keen interest in singing or playing an instrument. Oh, so he's like kind of a a bardic barbarian. Singing or instrument. Maybe he's really bad, but he's also really interested in it. So there's another table here. I'm gonna, because we're going down the rabbit hole here. I'm gonna roll appearance, personality, faith, and flaws. So eyes. The person has hooded eyes. Hooded eyes feature excess skin folding down from the brow bone to lash line, which obscures your crease, shrinks your eyelids, and can make you look drowsy. So yeah, it's like a droopy eyelid. Okay. That's it's random when you have to look it up. Okay, D12. The person has. Let's see, I got a 12. Ears with improbable tufts of hair. Oh, he has hairy ears. Okay. He's a brutish kind of man. Let's see, mouth. The person has dry, cracked lips. Oh, man. Maybe this guy is like a hermit. Hairy ears and cracked lips. Let's see. Nose. The person has a crooked nose. He's probably broken it a few times. You guys can see how, like, suddenly, like, a lot of this guy's quite interesting now. It's we're not even through these tables yet. But let's see, chin or jaw. He has a cleft chin. Maybe he would be a little bit more handsome if he groomed himself a little bit. Little chapstick, a little bit of shaving of his hairy ears. Let's see. Hair. The person has a wavy hair. Oh yeah, so he's taken on a little bit more handsome. He would have been handsome in another life. Let's see. Other. His face has height, drawn cheeks. So he's probably, well, let's see. We'll get to the physical traits here. I was going to say he's probably thin, but let's find out. Height. The person is short in stature. Oh, well, that's random. Okay. I was envisioning a tall guy, but this makes it a little bit. See, it makes him even more of a an irony. And if you guys don't know, in story writing, irony is like the pinnacle of everything. You want your story and your characters to be as ironic in every aspect. And we'll get to that in a second when we cover what's in the Secrets of Story book that I really like to use for character development. Anyways, D20. The person's body has 7. Body is lithe and lean. So let's see. So he's a short, lean guy with dry, cracked lips. You know, maybe. No, I don't want to say he's a baker. That doesn't quite work. But he's definitely probably seen better days as far as like having access to food and water and stuff. Let's see. Maybe this can be a random, not a random encounter, but it could be an encounter for the characters when they're on the road or something. And this guy's maybe traveling by himself, or we'll get there. Let's keep developing. So, D4. This person has a jagged scar. Having been a gladiator, that makes total sense. So, does he have a tattoo? We're going to go ahead and say yes. He has a snake tattoo. Having grown up in the grasslands, you know, there's bound to be snakes all over the place. It might be a tribal thing for him. Let's see, D12, jewelry. The person wears an ornate belt. Well, okay, all right. We'll make it work. We'll roll the punches and make this really interesting. Maybe he's a highway robbery man, a highwayman or something. Let's see, D8. Let's see, 5. So jewelry is made of gold. So okay, this is random. So his his belt is made of gold. Maybe it has gold ornamentation or leafing or something like that. D8. The person's clothing is torn in places, missing buttons. He's been on the road for a while. Torn clothes, missing buttons. He's been on the road for a while. The belt thing, you know, maybe we can make that interesting or important. Maybe it's some kind of enchanted item. Let's see, emotions and attitudes. So let's see. This is D32, so I'm just going to roll a 12 and 20 and add them together. Let's see. So that is 20. So when calm, the person is typically fun-loving. When calm, he is fun-loving. Which I imagine he probably hasn't been very calm for the last, I don't know, year at least. Maybe months, but whatever. So his stress trait, I'm interested in that. So that's what this next one's going to be. So an 11 and a 7, 18. Stubborn. When stressed, he is stubborn. And I have to give David props for recommending this to me. I don't think I'd seen this before he'd mentioned it. This is probably something he uses quite often with his NPCs. You don't have to be this thorough when you're rolling up NPCs, but it's definitely fun. So we'll definitely find a way to stick these two NPCs in the world somewhere. Anyways, so mood. Now the person is agitated. So at least when they meet him, he's going to be agitated. And that could be a sort of default for him, is generally he's agitated. Um, okay. Faith and beliefs. He is a cautious listener. So he doesn't quite believe everything he listens to, but which would have, that would could be interestingly play into how we were maybe talking about. Maybe he ran away from home, kind of a guy. Maybe his barbarian tribe is kind of cultist in their behavior, and they, especially when it comes to gladiatorial, maybe all the youth are gladiatorial um, participants. Let's see. Prejudice. The person he is prejudiced against. This is a D6. A race. So let's find out who he's prejudiced against. Reptilians. Ooh, reptilians rub him the wrong way. Maybe it's because, well, prejudiced against reptilians, and maybe it's maybe he doesn't hate them. He's got a tattoo of a snake, right? Maybe he's a little overly fond of reptilians. Maybe he's a little bit over attracted to reptilians. Okay, so flaws. He fidgets. All right. So yeah, a lot of really interesting things about this guy. You can definitely you've got the picture of him: hooded eyes, hairy ears, dry cracked lips, crooked nose, cleft chin, wavy hair, tight drawn cheeks. He's short, he's lithe and lean, he's got a jagged scar, he's got a snake tattoo, an ornate belt made of gold, torn clothes, missing buttons. He's calm when he's having fun when he's calm. He's stressed when he's stressed. He's stubborn. He's generally an agitated person. Um, he's a cautious listener, especially when it comes to religious faith type things. He's prejudiced against reptilians, and he fidgets. He uses a scimitar to fight. And this stuff, quite a bit of this stuff, doesn't necessarily need to come out. He wears a string of teeth. He's wearing bone armor. That's all very physical. So you can see that he uses a scimitar and a great club. We could change that up a little bit if we had to. And he's avoiding a family obligation. So he's from a vast grassland. Super interesting guy. So, okay, now that we have him rolled up, I actually want to apply a couple of things from the Secrets of Story. So, and this is a book by Matt Bird. If any of you are writers, I highly recommend it. A lot of really, really great things. It's for both screenwriters and book writers. Really, really incredible stuff on character development. Characters are going to be what drives any world, especially when it's going to be a good story. So, the first thing is that every hero needs to be both a winner and a loser. So, in a way, we've probably already developed a lot of this out by rolling for it. But I'm going to take a second and think about this. So, how is he both a winner and a loser? He had to run away from home to avoid a family obligation. That makes him a loser. But how is he a winner? This guy is a fighter. He is fun-loving when he is calm. He enjoys singing, or he plays an instrument. We'll come up with that. Maybe he plays like a bone flute or something. That would be really cool. In fact, I'm going to say that's what he does. He's already covered in bones. Maybe he tries to. What's the word? Put snakes in a trance. Like they. Oh gosh, what's that? That trope where where they put the snakes in a trance by playing and moving their flute around. Maybe that's kind of like his thing that he tries to really do every time he sees a snake. Maybe he does that with reptilian folk in general too. um, so you know, yeah. Awesome ways and how he's a winner and a loser. Um, he's agitated. That could be a loser thing for sure too. You know, things upset him a little bit too easily. He needs to have a philosophy, a false philosophy. So something that he can grow from over time, and maybe it's something that makes him a loser, uh, potentially. So his false philosophy could be that. When people get close to you, they want you to kill your friends. You know, based on his history, or um, let's see. I think that's a great false philosophy for him to start with. Close people eventually die or want you to kill. And having his experiences, yeah, it's either die or it probably all has to do with death. I imagine in any barbarian tribe, people are always dying young. So that could give you a really awesome emotional journey for the character. And this is something that you could do for your own characters as well. You know, these things, I apply them to the characters that I play, and you know, sometimes the NPCs. Not a lot of NPCs end up getting played out enough to make this worth it, but some of them do. And so if your players really like a specific NPC and you want to maybe have them see more of this character in the game, or they're really enjoying the character, so you could definitely write these things out, and it's going to help you play them as a believable character. So his belief currently, one of his beliefs is close people eventually die or want you to kill. Um, an important point that he makes, that David and I have talked about this on previous podcasts as well, is that the hero's not defined by their backstory; they're defined by the ongoing actions and attitudes. So while backstory is cool, it's important. That's not ultimately who what people want to hear, especially people that you're playing with, or otherwise. So your character's well-defined public identity. So in public, this guy's actually avoiding being in public, but the face that he puts on for these guys is that he's this tough, agitated, kind of upset guy, wiry guy, and when he's calm, he's actually very fun-loving, and he plays the flute. So by rolling up, we came up with that bit of that. So, and the beautiful part of that is that it's ironic. Like I was saying earlier, irony is the heart of everything awesome in film and stories. And it doesn't always have to be like funny irony, like uh, genuinely awesome things happen when you come up with irony, like his false philosophy right now. And maybe it's a good philosophy based on what he's been previously, but his experiences over the campaign will probably teach him otherwise. So the irony is that the opposite is true, even though he's holding that current belief. um, Consistent metaphor family. This is awesome for role playing, for talking, for communicating. So the character needs to have a family of metaphors that he's constantly relying on. For my character Alston, he's always he actually speaks in metaphors. So I use this quite literally. He's talking about power and deceit. And those are the things that he tends to want to talk about, and he tries to relate most of his conversation to those two things. Um, and so for this character, maybe his metaphor family all has to do with fighting, like gladiatory fighting. So maybe he's talking a lot about glory of the ancestors. Um, Maybe he's really concerned about ancestors and family, and so a lot of his metaphors might have to do with those things. Um, we have his general emotional state, his agitation. We already kind of went over that and how it kind of alters and changes around. An awesome thing for the oh, sorry, I'll just cut that. So an awesome thing for the default, an awesome thing for the characters to have, an awesome thing for the characters to have is going to be a default argument tactic. What they're going to fall back on when they're accusing other people or when they're denying something. Um, um, so like the awesome example that they use in this Secrets of Story is from Community, which I don't know anybody that's watched it and disliked the show in general. So if you know these characters, awesome. If not, you need to see the show. So Jeff tries to trap people with the evidence of your lies in a lawyerly manner. Abed poses faux naive questions, noticing little details and psychological tells in your answers. And he asks genuine naive questions, persistently interrogating until she gets the truth. Troy half-heartedly attempts to lay logic traps and ensnare you with your own words. She passive-aggressively guilt trips you, that's Shirley. Britta accuses you of hypocrisy, inconsistency, or general lack of morality. And Pierce doesn't strategize, he just insults. And unsurprisingly, he's pretty unlikable. Although I love him because Chevy Chase and just that type of humor really gets me. Even though he is like, you don't really like. If you knew that guy, you'd hate him in real life. So I'm trying to think what would this guy's default argument tactics be? Maybe something to do with strength and weakness. Hmm. Like yeah, that makes sense. Like pecking order type of thing. So the strong should be allowed to have what they want. Yeah, let's say that. That'll be his argument tactics. Order. I'm just going to say pecking order for argument. This is really weird, by the way. Not bouncing ideas off of somebody here. It maybe kind of gives you an idea of how you can think about things yourself and trying to think out loud as well without being a total idiot. It's kind of interesting. So let's see. Well, okay. So this gives me I hadn't really thought about this, but this brings this to light in my brain. So, is the hero's primary motivation for tackling this challenge strong, simple, and revealed early on? So, his motivation to be out in the wilderness where he is would be really strong. Where he's genuinely just kind of hiding from his people, and he does not want to see them, does not want to be involved with them. But I hadn't thought about it in that light where he has a strong motivation to kind of be unfound, generally speaking. I love this one. So, does the hero have an open fear or anxiety about his future, as well as a hidden private fear? So, we just covered his and that might be a private fear that he doesn't want to see his family, he doesn't want to see his tribe. That's maybe something that he wouldn't reveal to the characters unless they like beat him and interrogate him and stuff. But that would be a really awesome private fear. An open fear would be something like, oh, I'm not going to have food to live through the week. I need food, I need gold, I need water, I need sustenance, something like that. That could be an open fear that you could openly share with people. So yeah, his open fear could be that he is worried about having enough food to live through the week, where a private fear would be that his family and his tribe becoming in contact with them. Is the hero physically and emotionally vulnerable? Well, he's vulnerable in the fact that he doesn't have food, but how could he be emotionally vulnerable? The thing about being vulnerable means that you're tackling challenges that are bigger than yourself. And so for this guy, maybe that vulnerability of his private fear would be, maybe that can be tackled or handled. And, maybe his tribe is being led by a keeper. And so you could in theory you could have that be one of the goals for the characters, is helping him kind of confront these people, and being that he's an NPC in this case, you probably wouldn't want to focus on that too hard. But that could be a quest that you could hand to your characters right from the NPC. And in the meantime, you get some really kind of interesting story on the side about how he was this gladiator and yada, yada, yada. Does he have at least one untenable great flaw that we empathize with? Great untenable flaw. It's an interesting idea. Great untenable flaw. So one of the examples that he gives here is the wrestler, which accurately captures the tragedy of the functional screw-up, the stand-up guy who's clever and charming, but nevertheless persists in screwing up 5% of the time, which is enough to ruin his life. Which, that is an amazing point. Your character needs to sometimes make decisions that are not good for them. And specifically for players, I think it is awesome to make choices that are not necessarily in your best interest, especially like when you're avoiding meta gaming. You make bad when you're avoiding metagaming, you make bad choices for your characters, knowing that there is going to be a negative consequence, and that's just fine because that's what the character would do. So, yeah, how many decisions do you make in a day? What if every 20th decision was self-destructive? So, great untenable flaw. Well, he obviously put himself in a situation where he disconnected with society. So, being a kind of the way he currently is when the characters find him, he's some kind of a hermit. So, maybe his the way he is now, his great untenable flaw is that he wants to retreat from fights instead of owning up to it and jumping in head first. And, maybe that's something that he can overcome over the course of the story if the characters keep him around and he sticks with them. But that would be an interesting flaw, as maybe he runs away from fights and he runs away from conflict. Anyways, I think that is an awesome place to stop. So he is he's a pretty interesting, fleshed out guy, I think. So let's go over our two guys again that we made. So our first one, out of the DM handbook, what we got
Very kind of, this is their in-depth version, right? So the character has a birthmark. He is got a great constitution. He's a thick guy. Dexterity's low. He's not dexterous. Probably couldn't handle a bow and arrow to save his life, or play an instrument. He is extremely lucky. Very low voice. He's arrogant, and he has no limits. He's dedicated to a personal goal, the vengeance of his dead father, and he's envious of a position or station, being that of the Baron's son who killed his father in this scenario that we came up with. And using the table of tables to roll up our barbarian, he is from vast grassland, gladiator, physical endurance is one of his strengths. He's a bad campfire cook. He avoids family obligation. He uses a scimitar and a great club. He wears a string of teeth and bone armor. He sings an instrument. Well, he plays an instrument. It's the bone flute. That's what we came up with. I'm gonna get rid of the singing part here. He has hooded eyes, hairy ears, cracked lips. I should say hairy patches on ears. Dry, cracked lips, crooked nose, cleft chin, wavy hair, tight drawn cheeks. I'm going to skip over this because yeah. So, yeah, I think this barbarian, especially the second guy, we really, really developed him out. He's a believable character. He'll be pretty fun wherever we stick him in the game. And I think people would have a lot of fun running into him. So, anyways, thanks for joining for this in-between episode, between normal episodes. And we'll see you next time.